Hello again, Gary Stearman for Prophecy Watchers, coming to you from North Jerusalem. I have a very, very special guest for you, and we're going to talk about the recent Israeli elections. Of course, we're going to talk to Avi Lipkin. Hello, Avi. How are things?
Well, I wanted to welcome you and your wonderful group to Israel for a first-time Prophecy Watch pilgrimage to Israel. And we had the time of our life up in the Golan Heights and the Galilee. And just happy to be here in an historic time of the elections.
Indeed, very, very excited to be here at this time. This happens to be March the 18th, the day after the Israeli elections. Of course, it was all over the world news because of all of the various political interactions between the United States and Israel. We are pleased to have been here at what I consider to be a signal moment in modern Israeli history, because Benjamin Netanyahu now is going to secure another term as the leader of Israel. And I'm going to get Avi right now to comment on what he thinks will be the results of Netanyahu's. Actually, it was kind of a landslide, wasn't it, Avi?
It was a landslide, and I have to tell you, it not only was a landslide, it's the first time in Israel's history that a prime minister has been elected 4 times. He was elected in '96 and then twice, after the fall of Sharon. And this is the 3rd election, in other words, 4th altogether. It's a historic thing that I think he's the longest in-term prime minister of the state of Israel in Israeli history.
Now, for me, the interesting thing is going to be the political ins and outs of this election, both domestically in Israel and on the foreign policy field, because we have conflict here in the Middle East. We talk about it all the time on Prophecy Watchers because we believe that the last days in Bible prophecy describe what's going on in the Middle East right now. And I know Avi believes a lot of the same things that we do. And so, Avi, I would love to know what you think will happen on a foreign policy level with the re-election of Benjamin Netanyahu.
The world powers are very desirous to see the creation of a Palestinian state according to the borders of 1967. I think today what we're seeing is that the Israeli public has come to understand, as a result of the so-called Arab Spring, as a result of the rise of ISIS, the rise of all these different, I don't want to say crazy, but I've said it before, psychotic Islamic groups that are killing each other, killing Christians, killing Yazidis, killing Kurds, killing their fellow Sunni or Shiite Muslims. These different militias, they kill their own people. So Israel is thinking to itself, if we hand over any more land to the Palestinians, it will eventually be used against us to launch missiles at Israel. So I think that the Israeli population has awakened to the realities of the neighborhood. The neighborhood here is not a good neighborhood. It's kind of like the Near East is not, the Mid East is not the Midwest. And so Israelis are now not desirous to hand over any more land, even to the Palestinian Authority, because we handed over Gaza to the Palestinian Authority, and then Hamas took over. There was even fear that in the so-called West Bank, Judea, Samaria, that Israel might hand over land to the PLO, but then it gets taken over by Hamas. Then Hamas gets pushed aside and is taken over by Islamic Jihad, or Jabhat al-Nusra, or ISIS. So there's a lot of concern in Israel. I think the American saying, the Western saying is, insanity is when you keep making the same mistakes over and over again, thinking this time the result will be different.
Well, there is a kind of an insanity in the world today. As a matter of fact, there's an insanity on a number of levels domestically in a lot of different countries. We've talked about that. We've commented on this from time to time. But the thing that really interests me now, and with Avi Lipkin here, I just really want to home in on this idea that something has changed in the Middle East just in the last 24 hours with the re-election of Benjamin Netanyahu. And let me just ask you now, Avi, do you think Israel is a stronger nation, is going to become a more stable nation in the near future?
I definitely believe so. I think that the people of Israel have spoken. To form a government, the Prime Minister needs 61 out of 120 members of Knesset, and Prime Minister Netanyahu has had a smashing success, a landslide. At this moment, he has 67 out of 120 members of Knesset, purely between the nationalist and religious parties. So he has, I would believe, a very strong hand in governance of the country. He's not concerned about ideological rifts with small parties, which could bring the government down.
Well, this, from my perspective, is good news, because a stronger Israel, a blessed Israel, if you will, is going to bless the entire Middle East. And that's just, I believe, what the Bible says. The Abrahamic covenant, a covenant made thousands of years ago, is a covenant in perpetuity. God said, I'll bless those who bless you, I'll curse those who curse you. And Avi, I believe that covenant is ongoing to this very day, and Israel is a blessing to the Middle East.
I would also say that looking forward, we see a very critical situation with Iran. Iran is now about a year away from a nuclear weapon. The moment it decides to break out, Israel has to have a firm backing for the Prime Minister to do what he needs to do, if he has to do it. I don't know on March 24th if there will be an agreement with Iran. But even if there is an agreement with Iran, we all really kind of know that the Iranians are lying. They say they're not working for a nuclear weapon, but they are. And that they could theoretically be anywhere between 6 months to a year away from a nuclear weapon or weapons the moment they decide to break out. And if they're lying to the United Nations inspectors, this could happen at any time. So like I said before, Israel has maybe a smaller government, but it's a strong government, it's a united government with natural allies. In other words, nationalists and religious.
Well, it's been fascinating talking to Avi Lipkin from Jerusalem. We're going to be doing some touring right here in Jerusalem with Avi, and we're going to see other places like Masada, for example. And when I get back, I'm going to give you a full report on some of the fantastic things we've seen in Israel. We're excited. We are down. We are rested and relaxed and ready to go. And we'll be talking to you again on another of these reports from Prophecy Watchers. For Avi Lipkin, I'm Gary Stearman. Hey, keep watching, everybody. We are.